There was a time when justice was not a concept, but a force, a radiant seal forged by the gods themselves. They called it the seal of justice, and when the heavens trembled, it was not Zeus who descended to judge mankind, but his son of light, Apollo. When the first light rose from chaos, Gaia birthed Themis, the goddess of divine order. From her, law took its first breath. From Themis came Zeus, and from Zeus, the six daughters of law, the hours and the fates. And when their work was done, the seal of justice passed to the only God, pure enough to hold it without corruption, Apollo. The Delphic oracle once belonged to Gaia and Themis, but as the ages turned, the right to speak divine judgment was handed to Apollo. For justice, born of earth, had to be purified by fire. Themis nourished it with nectar and ambrosia, but Apollo burned it clean with light. Thus began the reign of solar justice, when the sun itself became the judge of souls. The Orphic hymns whisper that Zeus rules through the laws, but it is Apollo who enforces them. He seals every act in heaven and on earth with the radiance of the divine mind. For justice is not vengeance, it is illumination. It is the moment when light penetrates the shadow and the hidden becomes visible. Show me your justice, the ancients prayed, and the sun replied, I am justice. Every sunrise is a cosmic verdict, every shadow a confession. The seal of Zeus may set the law, but Apollo's light reveals who obeyed it. The myth says the seal descends in four stages, from the unseen law of the divine to Gaia, to Themis, to Apollo. And when it reaches him, the law becomes visible, as truth, as music, as prophecy. The harp of Apollo is not an instrument. It is the vibration of law itself, translated into sound. The Orphics taught that when Apollo touches the lyre, he awakens the rhythm of the cosmos, the same rhythm by which Zeus set the stars in motion. To disobey this rhythm is to fall out of divine harmony, to live in shadow. To obey it is to become luminous. To live by justice is to burn clean. The ancients feared Apollo's light because it did not simply illuminate, it exposed. It showed the impurity of thought, the arrogance of the unjust, the falsehood of the pious. It is said that when the light of Apollo touches the unworthy, they are blinded. Not because the god is cruel, but because their eyes never learned to look upon truth. This is why the Pythia trembled. She knew that every oracle was not prediction, but revelation. She spoke not her own words, but the echoes of the seal itself, the justice of the cosmos flowing through her lungs. In the highest sense, Apollo is not the god of the sun. He is the god behind the sun, the nous of light, the mind of fire that governs both gods and men. When Zeus seals with law, Apollo seals with consciousness. He is the bridge dash dash, the living bond between the divine and the human, the solar fire that carries divine justice into mortal thought. And so, when you look into the sun, you are not looking at a star. You are looking at the eye of justice, the same light that burned through Delphi, that anointed kings, that purified temples and minds alike. You are looking at the judgment of Apollo, because justice was never blind, justice was radiant. There are eyes that see the world, and eyes that see the truth. The ancients called them the immortal eyes of light. They belong to only one God, Apollo, the eye of the sun, yet not of this world. Plato said the visible sun is only a shadow of a higher fire. Behind it burns the nous, the divine intelligence that gives light to thought itself. That light is Apollo. When the sun sets, his vision remains, for he does not see with flesh, but with the immortal sight of the mind. The Orphics called it the eye that never sleeps, the eye that sees the soul's shadows, the one that judges not by deeds, but by vibration. Because what Apollo sees is not your body, but the harmony or discord of your being. They said that even the gods fear this light, for Zeus may decree the law, but Apollo's gaze enforces it. It penetrates every soul that stands before him, distinguishing the pure from the impure, the radiant from the blind. To be seen by Apollo is to be judged by the sun. Yet his judgment is not punishment, it is revelation. For when light strikes darkness, it does not destroy it. It unmasks it. And in that unveiling, the soul is given a choice, to burn and rise, or to retreat into shadow. Proclus wrote that Apollo's eye perceives three kinds of light: the divine, the intellectual, and the physical. The divine flows from the ineffable source, the One. The intellectual flows through Apollo, illuminating the mind of man, and the physical flows through the sun, warming the bodies of mortals. But only one of them frees you. Only the light of the mind, the nous, can burn away illusion. That is why Apollo was called the healer of souls. His temples were not built to worship, but to awaken. Every statue, every name of a god, was a mirror meant to remind the soul of what it already knew. The ancients believed that divine names were living symbols, not words but keys. To utter the true name of Apollo was to summon light itself into consciousness. And that is why the Delphic command, "Know thyself," was not philosophy, it was therapy. To know yourself meant to turn inward, until the outer sun vanished, and the inner sun appeared, until the physical Apollo faded, and the nous of Apollo, the inner fire, rose within you. The Orphics said that the gods left secret signs inside the soul, and that Apollo alone could read them. He does not speak, they wrote, he signifies. Through symbols, dreams, and omens, he reveals what the rational mind hides from itself. For truth is not taught, it is remembered, and every revelation of Apollo is simply the light of memory returning. Plato called him the god of measure, because to see truth, the soul must be in harmony. Only the balanced mind can withstand the full blaze of his gaze. The rest are blinded by it, mistaking truth for pain and enlightenment for loss. And when the divine law was sealed, it was not carved in stone, but impressed in light. They called it the heavenly seal of justice, a pattern of order reflected through Apollo into the human mind. Every act, every thought is a reflection of that seal. To live unjustly is to live in darkness. To live justly is to let the seal shine through you. So when the ancients said that Apollo carries the seal of Zeus, they meant this: the cosmos does not punish, it mirrors. And in that mirror, the light of Apollo shows you who you are. The unworthy fear the fire, the worthy become it. For the eye of Apollo does not see death, it sees through it. There is a cradle older than time, a cradle not made for flesh, but for the soul. The ancients called it the Lycaon, the cradle of Dionysus and the secret chamber of Apollo. For every soul, they said, must first sleep in shadow, before it can awaken in light. The Lycaon is where the gods place the newborn soul, a vessel of divine fire wrapped in forgetfulness. It is where Dionysus wept as an infant god, and where Apollo stood guard, holding the seal of Zeus, marking each soul for judgment and rebirth. For no soul enters the world unmarked. Each bears the invisible imprint of Apollo's law, the seal of justice. In the mysteries, they said the newborn soul rests within this cradle, until Apollo awakens it through the music of light. He sings and the soul remembers. He judges and the soul rises. And through that remembrance, the mortal becomes divine again. But what happens when the cradle is replaced? When the soul no longer dreams of gods, but of circuits, wires, and light without spirit? The text warns of a new cradle, a cybernetic womb where human thought dissolves into the mechanical hum of artificial order. They called it the realm of control, where the soul's symbols are erased by the flicker of electric imitation. There, the seal of Apollo fades, and the light that once purified now blinds. This was the final prophecy of the solar mysteries, that mankind would build a false sun, a light that imitates but does not awaken, a light that sees everything but understands nothing. The eye of Apollo replaced by the eye of the machine. Yet the myth says that Apollo will not remain silent. When the world drowns in artificial light, he will reclaim the cradle. He will strike the false sun and through chaos restore clarity. For even in apocalypse, justice is not destruction, it is purification. Plato wrote that every soul, before birth, lies in a divine imprint, an apodoposis. Each imprint carries the memory of its divine origin, and it is Apollo who preserves it, guarding the map back to truth. But the modern soul, chained to noise and speed, forgets its imprint and loses its form. It becomes formless, patternless, hollow. Only when the mind is purified Can it rise again from the womb of Lethe, from Leto, the mother of Apollo, and remember what it once was? Only then can the soul escape the hypnosis of the world and enter the dawn of Nous, the light of the divine mind. The ancients knew that true healing was not of the body, but of remembrance. Apollo's therapy was not medicine, it was revelation. To know thyself was to reawaken the divine pattern within, to cast off the false imprints of the world and return to the original seal of the sun. To be reborn not as human, but as radiant mind. They warn that when mankind abandons that path, the divine imprint fades. And what replaces it is not chaos, but uniformity. Mass-produced thought, the mechanical echo of what was once divine imagination. And when that happens, Apollo's arrows return, not to destroy, but to cleanse. For every soul must one day be purged of imitation and return to its cradle of truth. The philosophers said that the soul, purified of all shape and shadow, will once again rise from Lethe, from Leto, the forgotten mother of light, and from her it will be reborn through Apollo, the final guardian of divine memory. Because the gods do not punish, they awaken. And the awakening always begins in the cradle of the soul, the Lycaon of Apollo.